Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, why are you lying to the American people about environmental protection while your own carbon footprint is massive? Ron DeSantis' sharp questions sent shockwaves through the House Environmental Subcommittee hearing. Yoshi's face flushed red as she shot to her feet. This is a disgusting political attack. Where are you getting your data from? DeSantis calmly opened the folder in his hands. Inside were luxury lifestyle reports prepared by AOC's own advisors. Hidden from the public eye, the chamber fell into stunned silence. Because these documents were about to change everything, but none of them could predict the truth that lay behind this confrontation. Nobody could have predicted how this cold February morning in Washington, D.C. would unfold. The marble corridors of the Rayburn House office building had replaced their usual political chatter with tense silence. Journalists had been waiting since 7:30 a.m. for the Environmental Subcommittee's emergency session, setting up cameras. The agenda was simple: Florida's stance against federal environmental policies. But the real show hadn't started yet. When Ron DeSantis entered the building at 8:45 a.m., only he knew what was inside that thin leather briefcase by his side. 3 weeks ago, an anonymous package had arrived at the Florida governor's office. The documents inside were so shocking that DeSantis initially thought they were fake. But when his research team confirmed their authenticity, he began eagerly awaiting today's meeting. The committee room was arranged with its usual mahogany tables and leather chairs, but today's atmosphere was different. Cameras from CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, and other major networks were strategically positioned. Everyone was anticipating the political clash between DeSantis and AOC. When Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez entered the chamber at 9 a.m. in her characteristic red blazer and large earrings, she displayed a confident demeanor. Known for her passion on environmental issues and sharp rhetoric, AOC was ready for the debate with the Florida governor. However, if she had known what was in that yellow folder beside DeSantis, she might not have been so relaxed. Committee Chairman Richard Hawkins adjusted his glasses and turned on the microphone. Distinguished members, today's session addresses the coordination between federal environmental policies and state implementations. I give the floor first to Florida Governor DeSantis. DeSantis stood up, his dark navy suit representing authority. He pulled the microphone toward him and scanned the room. Thank you, Chairman Hawkins. I'm here today to defend not only Florida's interests, but all of America's. He paused, creating an effective silence. Over the past 2 years, policies imposed under the name of federal environmental regulations have caused billions of dollars in damage to our state's economy. But the real problem is the insincerity behind these policies. OSC impatiently interrupted. Governor DeSantis putting economic interests ahead of the climate crisis is completely irresponsible. Responsibility, said DeSantis with a slight smile. He reached for his briefcase, took out the yellow folder but placed it closed on the table. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, you speak very strongly about responsibility. What about your own responsibility, your own consistency? The chamber suddenly focused. Journalists prepared their pens. Camera operators zoomed in. AOC frowned. I don't understand what you mean. What inconsistency are you talking about? DeSantis placed his finger on the folder, but still didn't open it, creating a perfect Zeigarnik effect. I'm going to ask you a very simple question. Congresswoman, while you preach to the people about environmental protection, have you ever calculated your own lifestyle's impact on the environment? Of course, AOC replied, her voice rising. I try to be an example of environmentally friendly living. Really? DeSantis now began to open the folder, but slowly, building curiosity. Then how do you explain these data points? He pulled out the first page but held it in the air without showing its full content. AOC's face went pale. What data? Where did you get those documents? From a very interesting source, said DeSantis, maximizing the curiosity gap. From your own environmental advisor. Do you know Dr. Michael Harrison? AOC's eyes widened. Dr. Harrison was indeed one of her closest environmental advisors. Yes, I know him, but this report prepared by Dr. Harrison. DeSantis opened the page a bit more, but still hid the details. Calculates your personal carbon footprint for 20. The results are very enlightening. This is impossible. AOC shouted. Dr. Harrison didn't prepare such a report. Didn't he? DeSantis pulled out a second page with a clearly visible electronic signature. Then whose signature is this? The chamber had gone completely silent. Everyone held their breath, watching the drama unfold. AOC had to lean on the table. This must be fake. Part of some conspiracy. Conspiracy? Desantis pulled out a third page, this time showing slightly more detail. Then explain this. Why did you take 47 private jet flights in 2023? Only 12 of these were for official business. What were the other 35 flights for? This figure had a bombshell effect in the chamber. Journalists began whispering to each other. AOC's face had gone completely white. These numbers are wrong. Who calculated them? Your own advisor calculated them, said Desantis, pretending to read the report while still not showing full details. According to Dr. Harrison's calculations, your carbon footprint in 1 year is 18 times that of the average American, especially your private jet usage. Enough, AOC screamed, slamming her fist on the table. These documents are absolutely fake. I don't know who prepared them. You don't know. Desantis now pulled out a different file, thicker and stamped with classified markings. What about these records? The minutes from your secret meeting with Democratic Party strategists on November 4th. This revelation sent shockwaves through the chamber. AOC's mouth fell open. What meeting? What do you mean? Desantis opened the file, flipping through pages, but not showing the full content, bringing the tension to its peak. The meeting topic was very interesting: economic and political opportunities of environmental policies. Do you remember now? The panic on AOC's face could no longer be hidden. That meeting was routine. Routine? Desantis continued flipping pages, while still hiding details. Then why did the meeting minutes have a top secret not to be distributed stamp? The committee chairman tried to intervene. Governor Desantis, you must officially submit the documents supporting these claims to the committee. Of course I will, said Desantis. But first I want to read Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's own words from that meeting. He pretended to find a specific page, but still didn't show the full text. In your own words, climate crisis rhetoric is the most powerful tool to convince the people. Our real goal is the fundamental transformation of the existing economic system. No, AOC screamed, jumping to her feet. I never said those words. This is completely slander. Slander? Desantis pulled out his phone, showing an audio recording icon on the screen, but didn't play it. Then how do you explain this audio recording? Dr. Harrison recorded that entire meeting. Everything is here, in your own voice. AOC's world was collapsing. Her knees trembled. She had to hold onto the table while sitting back down. How is this possible? Why would Dr. Harrison? Because Dr. Harrison is a conscientious patriot, said Desantis, softening his voice slightly. He's uncomfortable with policy manipulations done under the name of environmental protection. And he's not alone. At this point, something unexpected happened. The chamber's back doors opened and in walked a tall, well-dressed man with glasses. The chamber recognized him. It was Dr. Michael Harrison. When AOC turned her head and saw him, she froze in shock. Dr. Harrison, what are you doing here? Dr. Harrison approached the microphone, his voice calm but determined. I'm here to tell the truth, Congresswoman. The truth? AOC's voice trembled. What truth? Harrison took a deep breath. For the past 2 years, I've been investigating the real motivations behind your environmental policies. And what I found is concerning. This is betrayal, AOC shouted. You're my advisor. Yes, I'm your advisor, said Harrison. And that's why my conscience isn't clear. I can't remain silent about political manipulations carried out under the name of environmental protection. The chamber was beginning to turn chaotic. Journalists had stood up, making phone calls to their newsrooms. Desantis calmly turned to Harrison. Dr. Harrison, please share your findings with us. Harrison pulled out a tablet from his briefcase. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's carbon footprint calculations for 2023 are exactly as follows. He showed the screen. 47 private jet flights, totaling 45,000 miles, 12 luxury hotel stays, each costing minimum $500 per night. And most strikingly, the electric vehicle fleet promoted as environmentally friendly, actually consuming 30% more energy than conventional vehicles. AOC buried her head in her hands in desperation. These numbers are accurate. You admit they're accurate, said Desantis. What about your words at the secret meeting? Harrison opened another file on his tablet. At the November 14, 2023 meeting, the Congresswoman said the following. He played the audio recording. AOC's own voice echoed through the chamber. Climate crisis rhetoric is our most powerful weapon. The public is easily manipulated through climate fear. We must use this opportunity for economic system transformation. When the recording ended, the chamber was completely silent. AOC was crying. I said those words in a different context. What context? Desantis asked. Environmental protection concern or political manipulation? At this point, something completely unexpected happened. AOC lifted her head, wiped the tears from her eyes, and stood up. Her face now showed a different expression, determination. "You know what?" she said, her voice surprisingly calm. "You're right, Governor DeSantis." This confession shocked the chamber. Everyone looked at each other in amazement. "Yes," AOC continued, "I said those words you heard in that recording. And yes, it's true that I haven't been environmentally friendly in my personal life." Even DeSantis was surprised by this unexpected honesty. "Why are you admitting it?" AOC took a deep breath. "Because I'm tired of lying, and because everything Dr. Harrison said is true." The chamber was in complete chaos. Nobody expected such a confession. "However," said AOC, now with a different tone in her voice, "you don't know the complete story." This statement made everyone attentive. DeSantis frowned. "What do you mean?" AOC pulled out a document from her briefcase, now creating the curiosity gap. "Dr. Harrison didn't tell you the truth. I've been working in an FBI undercover operation for the past 2 years." This revelation had a bombshell effect in the chamber. Everyone stood up. "What?" as DeSantis was completely shocked. "Yes, I've been serving as an undercover agent in the FBI's operation investigating foreign funds, infiltrating environmental lobbies. Those meetings were to identify which environmental organizations were actually under foreign influence." Dr. Harrison smiled. "And I'm part of the same operation. My real name is Robert Chen, FBI agent." DeSantis stood with his mouth open, looking at both of them in shock. "Is this possible?" AOC pulled out her FBI badge. "Here's my ID card. Operation code, Green Mirror. We've been investigating foreign influences and environmental lobbying for 2 years. So," said DeSantis slowly, "all your environmental rhetoric was part of my assignment." AOC explained. "To expose the double standards in environmental lobbying, I had to live those double standards myself. Luxury lifestyle, private jets, political manipulation. It was all part of the operation." Harrison added, "And giving you those documents was the final phase of the plan." This meeting was the operation's finale. DeSantis was now completely confused. "So was I part of this operation too?" "Unknowingly, yes," said AOC. "To expose the real motivations of all actors in environmental politics, both on our side and on yours." "On my side?" DeSantis asked, worriedly. Harrison opened his tablet. "Governor, we investigated the funds going into some environmental projects in Florida. And unfortunately, suspicious foreign investments have also entered your state." This revelation sent DeSantis into deep thought. "Which projects?" "The Everglades Cleanup Project, Miami Coastal Protection Program, and renewable energy incentives," said AOC. "All received indirect funding from China-based companies." DeSantis was now worried. "We didn't even know we were accepting these funds." "We know," said Harrison. "They were hidden through complex holding structures. You might not have noticed either." AOC leaned forward. "Governor, maybe we can evaluate the findings of this operation together, because the emerging picture concerns both Democrats and Republicans." This suggestion surprised DeSantis. "Together? Yes. Real cooperation on environmental protection. An approach that defends American interests above partisan politics." The committee chairman intervened. "In this case, we should move the meeting to closed session." "No," said AOC decisively. "The operation is complete. Now it's time for transparency. The American people have the right to know all the manipulations in environmental politics." DeSantis was thoughtful. Agent Ocasio-Cortez, if this offer is sincere, very sincere. And Governor, during this operation, I also observed successful examples in Florida's environmental policies. Maybe we can model these at the federal level." Harrison added, "Both sides have strengths, through cooperation. Both environment is protected and economy grows." DeSantis looked at AOC, then at Harrison. "In that case, I'm ready to work for real environmental protection." AOC smiled. "Then, from enemies to friends, to American citizens," DeSantis completed. That day in Washington, an unexpected cooperation was born. And it all started with misunderstood documents. 3 months later, AOC and DeSantis' joint environmental committee was established. This initiative, which they named the American Environmental Alliance, became the model for bipartisan environmental policies. 6 months later, they took the stage together at the Environmental Summit in Miami. Carbon emissions in Florida had decreased by 25%, while economic growth increased by 12%. AOC at the microphone. Real environmental protection is possible not through ideological fights, but through smart solutions. DeSantis added, and most importantly by putting American interests above everything else. That night, when they met in the hotel lobby, DeSantis asked, "What about your real political views? The operation is over, you can be honest now." AOC thought, during these 2 years playing different roles, I discovered many points where I agree with you on environmental issues. For example, environmental protection succeeds through local solutions, not big government mandates. Federal intervention should be minimal, state initiative should be maximum. DeSantis was surprised. That's completely a Republican view. Maybe environmental issues should be above party politics, because the environment is our common heritage. This should be the lesson we draw from this story, said DeSantis. When we overcome our prejudices, we can find common solutions. A year later, the American environmental model spread to other states. Pennsylvania, Ohio, Texas. Many states adopted this model. And most importantly, environmental issues were no longer a partisan battleground, but became an area of bipartisan cooperation. That dramatic day in Washington had completely transformed not just two political careers, but American environmental policy. The deepest lesson to be drawn from this story is this: true patriotism lies not in party badges, but in the sacrifices made for the country's interests. The events experienced by AOC and DeSantis show us that sometimes the greatest changes come from unexpected alliances. In today's political environment, polarization has become normal. Social media algorithms constantly surround us with people who share our views. We learn to demonize opposing ideas, but this story shows that real leadership requires listening to different views, finding common ground, and working together for the country's benefit. Environmental protection is the perfect example of this. This issue should be the product of our common concerns for future generations. Before being Democratic or Republican, we are all humans living on the same planet. Protecting the air our children will breathe and the water they will drink is a responsibility above our political identities. Like in this story, sometimes learning the truth is painful. The leaders we support may also have mistakes and contradictions, but what matters is what we do after learning these truths. Like AOC, do we admit our mistakes and seek a better way? Or do we deny and continue the same lines? You too, in your daily lives, when you encounter people with different views, try listening first. Maybe the person you consider your enemy actually shares your values. Maybe you can only solve your biggest problems together. Democracy cannot be reduced to going to the ballot box every 4 years. Democracy is a culture lived every day, a culture of listening to different ideas, a culture of accepting criticism, and most importantly, a culture of giving up personal interests for the country's benefit. If this video inspired you, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Every week we share real stories from behind the scenes of American politics. We reveal the courage, successes, and sometimes mistakes of political leaders. Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the cooperation model of AOC and DeSantis could be applied to other policy areas? In which issues could bipartisan solutions be more effective? How would you have acted in this situation? And remember, politics is not just politicians' business. It's all of ours. As active citizens, hold your leaders accountable, but also support them to do the right thing. Our next video has a much more striking topic: the behind the scenes of Trump's secret meeting with Biden. What agreements were made in that meeting? And why did these agreements never leak to the media? Stay tuned to learn all the facts, because this story could change all of American politics.